you for spending part of your day with us. I'm your host, Jeff Smith, and this is Leading Edge. Coming up, the new leader of the nurses union here in Ohio calls out hospitals on working conditions and staffing. Also, the end of an era in Toledo business as we spend a few minutes reminiscing, which is still one of my favorite Little River Band songs. We reminisce about Harold Jaffe Jewelers closing after 75 years. But first, have you noticed all the talk about our nation's debt and the national deficit? It always ramps up this time of the year when the presidential election is right around the corner. But I wanted to have an honest discussion about understanding the two and why that understanding is important. Joining us from the University of Toledo, the Economics Department Chairman, is Dr. David Black. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to share with people kind of an understanding of why this is important this time of the year, especially when we hear these terms coming up. So I want you to kind of make me understand if I'm understanding this right. Debt is like me getting a credit card at 10 years of age, holding that same credit card until I'm 50 now and never paying it off. Is that an accurate portrayal of what it is?
There's a difference between the government debt and
personal
debt. First thing is governments have the power to tax, print money, and they can borrow at much lower rates than individuals. Mm-hmm. And as long as they have favorable rates in borrowing, they can shift the burden of taxation from current generations to future generations.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit. Does any of this tie into? We just went through a situation here where we were hearing about government spending, government defaulting, possible government shutdown. Does any of that tie into what we've heard in the news recently as far as where the deficit is?
Well, currently the difference between a deficit and a debt is the deficit is what happens in a given year, and the national debt is the sum of all past unpaid deficits. Currently, the national debt is quite large, and
to the tune of, we were saying, in the 30 trillion range, right?
Correct. And there's a debt ceiling that.
What does that mean?
The debt ceiling is a block, and that currently, current policy, they cannot, Congress tries to impose fiscal responsibility on themselves by saying, okay, the national debt cannot exceed this value. And currently the deficits are quite large, and so the national debt continues to grow.
But they set those parameters, and then they come back and they go, yeah, maybe we can raise the ceiling a little bit. Maybe we were wrong months ago. Now we've got to raise the ceiling a little bit. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is that fiscal responsibility?
Now that's an opinion. What I would say is, unfortunately, in order to slow the growth rate of the national debt so that it's not growing at a faster rate than gross domestic product, you have two choices. Either you raise taxes or you cut spending, or you do a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And all of those choices will get voters angry, and
right.
And politicians do not want to get voters angry, or they won't get elected.
I wanted to throw in a couple of things. We were talking about the numbers. As of August 2023, total federal debt was $32.6 trillion. This includes, according to reports, $25.8 trillion held by the public and $6.8 trillion in intergovernmental debt. In September 2023, the United States government had a monthly interest rate of 2.97% on its debt. That's a good interest rate, but it's not good. It's not good financial sound policy as far as making sure you need the books balanced. And I guess my question to you today is, trying to, as we get a little closer to the presidential election in 2024, And do we need to ever, will we ever, I'm 50 years old, I haven't asked you your age, I don't know if in our lifetimes we'll ever see a balanced budget. What would it, let me ask you this way, what would it take to get us there?
Fiscal responsibility, but as I said, politicians
They're good at spending money.
they're good at spending money and they're good at cutting taxes, but when it comes to fiscal responsibility, unlike individuals, governments live much longer, and therefore, as long as people perceive that the government is stable, they are willing to purchase government debt and allow the government to continue to borrow. About 15 years ago, the European countries had troubles with their debt, and what the monetary union did is it eliminated their ability to print money, individual countries. So countries like Greece had a problem with their debt, and in fact, it was in the range of, as a percentage of GDP, close to that of where the U.S. is currently.
Right.
The difference between U.S. and Greece is the United States still has a independent monetary policy, and they can print money, but Greece couldn't, and so they had to. Their debt problem became realized when the ability of them to borrow became much more difficult as the interest rates rose to close to 20%.
Yeah.
And that's what hasn't happened in the United States. As long as the interest rate remains handleable at 2.9%.
Should we get all caught up in the fact that, you know, we're sending money here, we're sending money there, we're spending on this, we're spending on that? Should we as voters, should we as citizens, should we get all caught up in that? Or is this just a machine that will continue to work until we're dead and gone?
That's kind of what I was getting to is when investors become tired of taking on more government debt, interest rates that the government will be able to borrow at will start to decline. And that's when things will start to impact personal lives, because as interest rates that the government has to borrow at, they're going to have to or become more fiscally responsible, either by cutting spending or raising taxes. And the other terrible alternative would be to print money at a faster rate. And printing money at a faster rate will cause more inflation. And again, that will impact every voter and every American.
Inflation, like we've just gone through, 9% coming down, I think, into the 2 range. That's where the ultimate percentage is. As we go to break and finish up here, there's been some talk about a national tax and that potentially being the solution to bringing down the national debt, bringing down these deficits. You think that's in the cards? You think that's something that would work?
You just have to look at other countries that already have that. And what works is becoming more fiscally responsible, slowing the growth of government spending, and reducing the rate of growth of the deficit and the national debt.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to let that be the last word, Dr. Black. Thank you so much. We appreciate the insight. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. According to a national nursing workforce survey conducted by the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, the average age for an RN is 52. They say that could signal a large wave over the next 15 years of replenishing nurse staffing. But according to the Ohio Nurses Union, something else has to happen first.
We're still not seeing hospitals take the necessary steps to improve the working conditions to recruit and retain staff. So we're still seeing lots of travelers in the hospitals. We're seeing hundreds of vacancies in our facilities across the state.
What does that mean, travelers? Travelers in hospitals? Is that bouncing from hospital to hospital?
Yeah, bringing in temporary staff to fill vacancies, usually for 6 to 13 weeks at a time. Which having somebody familiar with the hospital, familiar with the policies and procedures, is going to be way better for patients. We provide care as a team, and so working together as a team is how you become really efficient. And so when you're trading out players every 6 to 13 weeks, you're not going to have a strong team. So we really need hospitals to invest in having full-time permanent staff, so that we have the experience at the bedside to meet patient care needs.
The
To
Ohio Nurses Association fulfills what role in the state?
So we're a union of nurses and health professionals. So we we do a lot of advocacy at the work site. We're organizing at several new sites and have lots of interest across the state with healthcare workers wanting to unionize. In addition to that, we monitor what's happening at the State House. We are working with Representative Ganbari and Rogers on House Bill 285, which is a safe staffing legislation that creates legally enforceable safe minimum nurse to patient ratios. It also includes a $20 million loan to grant program where nurses that commit to 5 years at the bedside or in nursing education can have those loans forgiven that they receive under that program.
You say now, as I guess far distance as we are from the height of the COVID pandemic, are we struggling to provide good health care here in the state of Ohio?
COVID really took a toll on folks at the bedside. We've seen 25 to 30% of the healthcare workforce leave, and so that's an incredible burden on those that are left. To say that that's not a challenge to provide the same level of care that our patients deserve and expect with a third less resources, we definitely can't say that. So it is certainly a struggle, and we need hospital executives to improve the working conditions. We need it to be safe and sustainable. So we need to come to work and know that we can do the work that we need to do, provide the care that our patients need and deserve, and leave feeling good about what we've done for the day, not waking up in the middle of the night worrying if we missed something, if we made a medication error, if we missed a subtle change in vital signs.
I wanted to let you know we also reached out to the Ohio Hospital Association as part of this interview today. And when 285 was announced in September, they came out with a statement that read, mandated approaches to nurse staffing limit innovation, reduce the flexibility needed to respond to patients' changing care needs, and increase stress on a healthcare system that's already facing an escalating shortage of nurses. I guess, do you both share the burden in all of this, or do you not see it that way?
But the hospital association doesn't have the same pressure and immediacy that we have at the bedside. So we're looking at a patient who's in pain, who's soiled themselves because there wasn't somebody there to take them to the bathroom, that system has taken away their human dignity. We certainly have a different urgency. We have a different set of priorities, so it seems. Healthcare is a business. There is a component of that, but really, the money should fund the mission, not the mission to make all the money that you can. And so that's what they're doing right now, is they're really prioritizing profits instead of safe, quality patient care. That's really reprehensible. When we're talking about human lives, people needing dignity and the care to get better, to get back home, back into their communities, back home for the holidays. That's not okay. That's not okay to sacrifice in the name of profits.
Let me ask you real quick, going back to the Code Red effort, which you are implementing, multifaceted, multi-year campaign focusing on understaffing, also workplace violence. I think my audience would probably be interested in knowing what we're referring to there. What kind of violence?
So stemming back to the the understaffing, we're not able to meet patient care needs, and so things are escalating and bubbling up and turning into violent outbursts. That's no excuse to put your hands on somebody, but nurses are being pushed, they're being punched, they're being spit on, they're being cursed at and threatened. We have people that are seriously injured in our hospitals on a regular basis. Um, we really need the backing and support from everyone, um, and that means also hospitals investing in the security measures that we need to be safe. So investing in enough security personnel, training, personal protective equipment. We're lacking on all fronts, and we're going in vulnerable shift after shift, day after day, and we're not seeing the improvements and the investments that we need.
And this is where I guess House Bill 285 comes in, trying to, I guess, push the ball a little bit further down the field. A couple of statistics. American Association of College Nursing anticipates that 1 million nurses will retire by 2030. As of today, there are over 8,000 job listings in Ohio Means Jobs website for nurses in Ohio. This paints a different picture than what we're even seeing here in Northwest Ohio. I don't know if you realize that or not, but we've got institutions like Lourdes University, Owens Community College, which their nursing programs are expanding by and large.
Ohio, before the pandemic, was projected to have a surplus of nurses by the year 2030. Now, COVID certainly, changed that dynamic, but we're not suffering from a shortage of nurses. We're suffering from a shortage of nurses that are willing to work in these conditions, and they shouldn't have to. We shouldn't be asking people to go in and sacrifice their bodies and their souls to do this work. It should be safe and sustainable. And that's really what the problem is. We're seeing new nurses, around a third of new nurses are quitting within the first year. So our nursing schools in Ohio are putting out thousands and thousands of new grads into the workforce every year. And our hospitals are chewing them up and spitting them out.
We'll be back right after this. It only seemed fitting in this last segment for a community affairs program to feature something with which the community has had an affair with for decades. Harold Jaffe Jewelers announced it is closing its West Toledo location and will bring to an end a household name that thousands have grown to love and adore, just like their diamonds. Jeff Jaffe joining us here from Harold Jaffe. Good to see you. Has this been a bittersweet week for you?
Oh, more than. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's the emotions run, all over the place, but it's been so gratifying. The people that we've seen, people from our past, people from our recent. It's a blessing.
You said something to me that really stuck with me. You said we are in the business of happy.
For sure, everything we do.
Or we have been.
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, everything we do is usually associated with a happy occasion, birth of a baby, a wedding, anniversary. All of those things, and apparently, we've done a pretty good job because people come in relating these stories about what we've done for them for the four and five generations. Right. We've actually been working with. So I just can't tell you. It's been overwhelming what we're seeing and hearing.
What brought you to the point to say it's time to call it a career?
I'm old. No, it's time. I've been doing this. This is my probably over 60 years, 60 Christmases that I've been working. I love every minute of it, but we don't know how much time we have left, yeah. and I just figured it was finally time. Well, I'm feeling pretty good, yeah. To be able to
take advantage of it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
What's changed in the business over the years for you?
Oh my gosh, everything. Technology has changed everything. You've heard recently about all the laboratory-grown diamonds. Mm-hmm. All of that has changed. Watches have gone from low-tech mechanicals to high-tech electronic, back to interest in low-tech. There's
like record players, right?
For sure, it's like the digital to vinyl. Yeah, all of that, exactly.
Talk a little bit about some of the best-kept secrets that this area has had for you. What is Toledo's best-kept secret? Or what is one of the things you adore about Northwest Ohio?
The people. I mean, everybody. You can go to I'd say a million, but dozens of restaurants here, individually owned by local people. Then you're going to always get a welcome, and you're going to get a good meal, and you're going to get a fair price. Obviously the things like the museum and the mud hens, and those are all things that make Toledo really special.
Yeah.
And then for me, the music scene has been so important. The jazz scene and all of that. The arts in this community for a city its size are amazing. Yeah.
What is your hope going forward for the jewelry industry and for Toledo?
Well, I think the nice thing about the jewelry industry is that because of the personal nature that we can have with people, we'll be able to maintain that. The internet's changed an awful lot of stuff, but you can't get the personal touch off of the online.
Yeah.
So that is it, and face-to-face, one-on-one. The things that we love to do, like the custom design, which is our most important thing, has always gotten my juices flowing. And I love fine watches, and I mean I'm sort of
Good luck in retirement.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great seeing you. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to see you.
Absolutely, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back for a final time here on Leading Edge. As a reminder, if you missed any part of our conversation, you can check it out on the WTOL 11 YouTube page. My name is Jeff Smith. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for spending some time with us.